Hi guys, I'm Michelle from The Recipe Bandit, and today I'm going to be making this recipe that I found on TikTok. It sounds really interesting to me. It's for quick pickled caprese tomatoes. So the elements of this recipe are really simple, and because it's a pickling recipe, I know I'm probably going to love it. But this one doesn't involve any water bath canning or any pressure canning or anything like that. These are refrigerator pickles. I'm intrigued by the flavor profile of these. I'm really quite curious as to whether or not this is going to work. It has a lot of my favorite things in it. It's got some cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes, garlic, basil, little chili flakes. Like, it should work, but I don't know if it's going to. So I thought, rather than making it and showing you guys if it does work, we just make it together and see what we think. So this recipe calls for putting everything into the jar and then making a quick brine on the stovetop in a little saucepan. And then you put the warm pickling liquid over the tomatoes and garlic and basil and peppercorns in the jar. And you let it come to room temperature on the counter and then put it in the refrigerator for 24 hours. And you don't try them until the 24-hour mark, and they're good for up to 2 weeks. So let's try them. Let's go ahead and make quick pickled caprese tomatoes. The things that you're going to need for this recipe are all very simple. We have some white vinegar and some water. We have a little sugar, a little salt, and some chili flakes, but you don't need to use the chili flakes if you don't want to. I like just a little bit of heat, so we're going to use them. We have, it calls for 3 cups of cherry tomatoes or grape tomatoes or whatever kind of tomatoes you want. So I have 2 little mixed packages. They're washed, they're ready. I have a quart jar. I have a couple of cloves of garlic that I've cut into pieces. I've got some peppercorns, and I've just grabbed a few little sprigs of basil out of the garden. We're just going to put these in the jar. Like I said, I don't know how this is going to work out. I saw it on TikTok, but I'm curious and I want to try. So when I watched it on TikTok, the lady began with the jar and she started by just putting in tomatoes. So we're going to do this. She called for 3 cups of tomatoes. I probably have a little more than that, but we'll see. It's a good sized jar. So we have some tomatoes. We're going to put some garlic in there. We'll put some of the other tomatoes. I'm trying to make it colorful. Okay. We'll put the rest of the garlic in there. We'll put our peppercorns into this jar too, and as many more of the tomatoes as we can get to fit in there. So really, it's kind of like 2 of these little 10-ounce packages with just a few left over. We'll take some out. We want to put our basil in there somewhere, so I'm going to shove these kind of just down in the sides, knowing that I'm going to put that hot pickling liquid over them. So I think next time I would have put the basil in before while I was putting the tomatoes in, but whatever. For the next part, we're going to move over to the stove, and we are going to use just a little saucepan. We are going to put the rest of the ingredients into this saucepan and bring it to a boil just to let the flavors come together. So we have 3/4 of a cup of water. We will do 3/4 of a cup of white vinegar. Pretty sure cider vinegar would work too if that's all you have. We have some white sugar, some kosher salt, and we have those little chili flakes. So this is all in the pot. We're going to move over to the stovetop, bring it to a boil, and get all of that sugar and salt to dissolve, and then we're going to come back and pour it right into this jar. So let's go do that. All right, we have our saucepan on the stovetop. We're just going to bring it to a boil. It's not going to take very long. There's only a 1.5 cups of liquid in this pot, so it's not going to take very long at all. So it's just come to a simmer now. That means that we are exactly where we want to be. We will go ahead and remove it from the heat. All right, so our brine is all ready. It's all ready to go into our little jar of tomatoes and basil, garlic, and peppercorns. We have a funnel so we don't make too big of a mess. We're going to pour the pickling brine right over these tomatoes right into the jar. And you just want to get in as much as you can. About a ½ inch from the top should be good. Don't know if you can see, but it's really pretty. So that's good. All right, I'm going to dry off the top of my jar here. We're going to put the little lid on here, put the ring on here. We're going to allow these to come to room temperature on the kitchen counter before putting them in the refrigerator. When we put them in the refrigerator, we will be putting them in for 24 hours, overnight, before we taste them. So we will not know until tomorrow whether or not they're any good. But it just seemed like such a fun little recipe, and it's got all sorts of great flavors in there. You've got basil and garlic and the tomatoes. Yeah, I was excited to try them. So saw it on TikTok, trying it here. So tomorrow I'll come back and we will try them and we will see what we think. But there you go. Quick pickled caprese tomatoes. Hi guys, we are back. It has been 24 hours since we did our little TikTok experiment of these pickled caprese tomatoes. I'm very excited to try them. This is going to tell us whether or not this is something that we're going to make again. So let's open this up. I feel like I want to try one that's down and submerged a little more. Okay. Here goes nothing. Those are actually pretty good. You get a little bit of the basil, you get a little bit of the garlic and the peppercorn flavor. It did soften some of them a little bit. Does definitely carry the basil. So I think these would be really good if you did like a little meat and cheese tray, or to put into a salad or something like that. But you know, for how pretty they are and for how little effort they took, I would totally make them again. So, little pickled caprese tomatoes for the win. All right, saw it on TikTok, made it here, we'll make them again. Thanks for joining me on this little experiment. If you guys like what we're doing, please come back and see us again. Please like and subscribe and click that little notification button so that you know when we put out new videos. Most of the time I'm making things I've made before, but every so often, got to do one that I haven't. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you again.